Identifying potential murderers: behavioral, psychological, and situational signs. Identifying a potential murderer is a highly complex and sensitive issue that involves understanding human behavior, psychological patterns, and circumstances. While there is no definitive way to pinpoint a murderer before a crime has occurred, there are some behavioral, psychological, and situational signs that may raise suspicions. However, it is essential to remember that many of these behaviors can also be associated with other issues, and making premature judgments without proper investigation can be harmful. Here are some factors that may help in understanding potential red flags, although these should never be used as a basis for making accusations without thorough investigation. History of violent behavior. Individuals who have a history of violent outbursts, physical altercations, or aggression may be more likely to engage in violent acts, though not all violent individuals commit murder. Excessive anger or hostility. Those who frequently display unprovoked anger, rage, or hostility may be at higher risk for committing violent crimes, particularly if they struggle with impulse control. Escalating threats or violent language. Making threats or using language that suggests a desire to harm others is a concerning sign, especially when it escalates over time. Psychopathy or sociopathy. People with certain personality disorders, particularly antisocial personality disorder, often called sociopathy or psychopathy, may display a lack of empathy, disregard for others' feelings, and a pattern of manipulative or harmful behaviors. These traits may be red flags in some cases. Lack of remorse or guilt. A person who exhibits no remorse for past actions or appears indifferent to the suffering of others might be someone who could commit a violent crime. Depression or severe mental illness. Severe mental health issues, such as untreated depression, psychosis, or schizophrenia, may cause a person to act out violently, though mental illness alone is not a predictor of violence. Sudden isolation or withdrawal. A person who suddenly becomes isolated, withdrawn, or begins acting erratically may be experiencing emotional turmoil, which, in rare cases, can escalate to violence. Excessive control or obsession. People who exhibit obsessive behaviors, controlling tendencies, or extreme jealousy in relationships may become violent when they feel that control is threatened. Unexplained or inconsistent stories. A person who tells contradictory or illogical stories about certain events may be concealing something, which could be related to criminal behavior. Domestic abuse. A significant portion of murders, particularly those involving women, are committed by intimate partners. Patterns of abusive or controlling behavior within relationships, such as physical, emotional, or verbal abuse, should not be ignored. Jealousy and obsession. Extreme jealousy or an obsession with an individual, whether a partner or someone else, can lead to violence, especially when the person feels rejected, betrayed, or humiliated. Access to weapons. Someone who has easy access to firearms or other deadly weapons may have the means to commit a murder. A history of using weapons irresponsibly or threats with weapons could indicate a heightened risk. Knowledge of crime or murder methods. A person who shows an in-depth knowledge of murder methods, crime scenes, or police procedures, without being involved in law enforcement, might be displaying behaviors that raise suspicion. Significant personal loss or stress. People who undergo significant stress or trauma, such as the loss of a loved one, a financial crisis, or a relationship breakdown, may experience emotional turmoil. In some rare cases, these situations can lead to extreme actions. Behavior. After the crime, how someone behaves after a death or crime can be revealing. For instance, if a person reacts indifferently, shows no grief, or behaves strangely, such as celebrating or acting out of character, it might indicate guilt or emotional detachment. Inconsistent or unverifiable alibi. A person who cannot account for their whereabouts during a critical time, or whose story constantly changes when questioned about the crime scene or victim, may be suspicious. Unusual interest in the crime. If someone shows an abnormal level of interest in a crime, especially in a case involving someone close to them, it could be indicative of involvement or guilt. This might include frequent inquiries about the investigation or the condition of the victim. Prior criminal behavior. A history of criminal activity, particularly violent crimes or offenses involving manipulation and deceit, may suggest a higher likelihood of future violent acts. However, it is important to note that a criminal past does not guarantee future violence. Escalation of crime. Individuals who have committed smaller, less serious crimes, such as theft, assault, or animal cruelty, and show signs of escalating behavior might be more likely to commit more severe crimes, including murder. Financial motives. Murder for financial gain, such as in cases of life insurance fraud or inheritance disputes, is unfortunately not uncommon. People in financial distress may resort to extreme measures if they see no other way out. Debt or financial pressure. Someone under immense financial pressure might commit a violent crime, particularly if they feel they have no other options for escape or resolution. While certain behaviors or circumstances might suggest a higher likelihood of violent behavior, it is crucial to avoid jumping to conclusions without clear evidence. Many of the signs listed above are not exclusive to murderers and can be found in individuals who do not engage in violent behavior. In real life, identifying a potential murderer is a complex and nuanced task that typically requires professional investigation by law enforcement or mental health experts. If you suspect that someone may be at risk of harming others or themselves, it is important to seek help from professionals, such as counselors, law enforcement, or psychologists, rather than attempting to intervene on your own. Ultimately, only thorough investigation and evidence can determine whether an individual is involved in a crime.